are live.
Okay, amazing. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the fourth episode of our live stream for AI within art. We are joined by Nicholas and Mikko Alasaarela. Welcome, both of you, and good morning. So Mikko, could you maybe introduce yourself a little bit to our audience? Who are you? What are you maybe best known for? What are your works, and what are you doing right now?
So I'm a multi-time entrepreneur. Have lived in Silicon Valley and Berlin for 13 years of my adult life. Built multiple startups in different areas. I'm most known for my work in algorithmic influence, which I've been speaking about in publicly in international conferences, for leadership teams, for media houses, for governments, and also built products in this space. And been advisor to companies when they're building products on this space. So, that's my main thing. I run two companies. One is InBot, which is my personal consulting company, and then we're building this product called Equal, which is a social app trying to create like a healthy environment for people to build communities in the age of AI.
Fantastic, thank you. And we'll definitely go a little bit deeper into some of the points that you mentioned. But before we do that, maybe Nicholas, you can also introduce yourself.
Yeah, hey, part of the AI within art team. Have a background within the entrepreneurial scene in Helsinki, Finland. Here on this project, also today, you sent me the books of my first printed book, a poetry collection, has now arrived and will be also featured at AI within art. So I guess I'm a published author now as well. I guess Mikko, you have. Thank you. I think Mikko, you've also published a book, haven't you?
Yeah, I have. I wrote the book called The Servant Influencer, which is basically looking at how to build influence as an impact influencer, and and how to make positive impact through your influence on social media. So that's one. I also actually was published as author like back in the day when I was doing my master's thesis, because it was published in the scientific publication list like a long time ago. So that was the first time I was published, I think.
What was that subject about?
It was like so I was I graduated from Turku School of Economics in late 90s, and so that's a long time ago. But it was published in the series of Jyväskylä University because I was doing a summer job with them when I was doing this thesis. So they wanted to publish the works. It was about small businesses, like building like profitability models like across like a network of companies. So nothing to do with what I'm working on now, but it was fun.
Fair enough. Juuso, you had more questions for Mikko to dwell into.
Yes, we can. Yeah, we can get right into it. So Mikko, you mentioned that your specialty is mostly in algorithms, and obviously algorithms are kind of having this significant impact into our kind of social life, influencing the decisions that we make, without us maybe not really knowing. And I would love that for you to kind of open the doors to this discussion, as you are the expert. You kind of know more, I think, than the conventional person. So yeah, what is up with algorithms, and how are they influencing us?
Yeah, so I've been speaking about this for quite a long time. I think it's become like a mainstream discussion with the rise of TikTok. Now that TikTok is clearly an algorithmic media, I'm not actually calling it anymore social media, because most of the people that you see videos from on TikTok, I would say like almost every one of those are from people that you don't know personally. So I treat social as something that you do with friends or people you know, or you actually planning to meet or somehow like hang out with, and then you have media, which is consuming some content. It could be entertainment or like whatever it is, and so with the rise of TikTok, all of the traditional social media companies have adopted these algorithmic feeds. I mean, they usually call them for you, and and the for you feed is basically a curated set of entertainment and content that's target is to addict you with the app for as long as possible. And this has nothing to do with social interaction. It has everything to do with consuming content that is engaging or like that keeps you following the app. And this has multiple consequences on our society. So first is that we can see from the statistics that the algorithms are not only shaping our behavior, how we consume content, but it also as a function of how the algorithms are picking up the content that it's shown to you, affect your worldview, affect your like mood on a daily basis, affect on your self perception, and other things. So to some extent, we have left a lot of control of our lives into these algorithms in all over the like digital services and products that we use, and that has an effect on us, like who we are, and how our societies work, and so on. And we haven't really like understood the full impact that these algorithms have on us, and then that's why I've been talking about it, because we have to understand that we have moved from times when we use algorithms to times when algorithms use us. And when you understand that, it's easier for you to basically navigate this environment and maybe safeguard yourself from being manipulated or being like driven towards like some specific outcomes or specific worldviews via these algorithms.
Are there any like good ways? So you're talking it with a bit of it sounds a bit dogmatic, right? That the algorithms are using us.
Yeah.
But you still talk about like positive impact and like we can't neglect social media completely. I've actually removed myself from most other social media the past years, and I only use LinkedIn because I like the vibe and the professionalism kind of weeds out a lot of trolling and so on. And I assume like Equal Social is also built on the premise that you can use these algorithms also for good.
Yeah, so I've been, of course, researching this topic for many years, and so what I found out is that when you use algorithms to automate outreach, for example, like you use personalized emails on a mass emailing campaign, that's so-called inauthentic behavior. So you basically undersign these emails with your own name, but it's actually a bot that sends them out and personalizes the messages. So you don't even know yourself like what the messages are having as a content, but they are trying to create a picture on the receiving end that there's some human who cares about them when it's only a bot that's trying to just grab their attention. This same behavior is actually happening on social media feeds in lots of levels. So basically, it's not only the consumers of the content that are affected by the algorithms, but also the creators of the content. Like in order for you to make your content viral or having a lot of views on this platform, you have to basically apply a set of rules how the content is created. And there's like known best practices, like how you create content that goes viral. And it has to, for example, it has to have a emotional trigger on the users. And that's because the feeds of on these platforms are so fast that you have to grab the attention of the user and get their reaction in less than 3 seconds. Like in order for you to really grab anyone's attention and make them do something with your content, you have to basically apply to their emotions rather than rational thinking, because the emotions are much faster to create reactions. And that has led into almost everything on these platforms to be constantly playing with our emotions, and that also has an effect on how we perceive the society and the world. I give a good example. If you want to have the biggest possible views currently on LinkedIn, and LinkedIn is a professional social media platform, you announce that you have a cancer and you are like basically going to have like a very short lifespan ahead of you, and and you'll get so much views and empathy like out of this. Like it's basically triggering emotions. So there's like different ways of gaining attention, but these like types of contents, like if you look at LinkedIn, it's not anymore as much of a professional learning platform as it is like with feed wise, like also emotionally triggering feeds all the time.
Understood. Yusu, what does this sound to you like from a perspective of like a design perspective, also someone from like a generation that grew up with social media in itself?
Yeah, I think one thing that really came to mind was like this kind of idea of like clickbait. And I feel like that was mostly in like a video kind of image sphere, especially YouTube, clickbait videos to get the views. And now when you talked about LinkedIn, I was kind of like looking or like remembering my feed, and there's like clickbait now in LinkedIn, even though it is like a professional space. It's like it's not to the extent that it's, of I got cancer and this thing, but like I would click on it because it triggers something like the first message, and then it's like not even anything related to what it was kind of initially indicated to. And it's kind of like, I don't know if this is like stringing me along, if it's like an ethical thing, because I think even clickbait of like just one picture for a video, there's like ethics of, are you being stringed on for this ride that's not even what they're telling? And it kind of made me think of all this, like, yeah, what is, we've kind of normalized it maybe a little bit, that like that's how you get the attention, and that's the only way you're gonna get views or people to look or engage in your stuff in this vast network of information, because it's so overcrowded. And it like, I don't know, now I'm starting to think of like, what is like, is that right? Almost like stringing it on and like making it normal almost.
Yeah, so that's why I think like as the generative AI like is going to take a bigger control of our feeds, like you will see more and more content generated by AI, which is practically going to be impossible to distinguish from human generated content over time, because it's so easy to customize it to all kinds of styles. You can even like ask it to make spelling mistakes here and there to make it more authentic. So like there's no way you can distinguish that. So now, with that being said, we humans still have needs to socialize with other humans, and as this like all of these like inauthentic engagements that you have like on these platforms are getting bigger and bigger portion of all of these like feeds that we have, we will move more to private groups, like we have WhatsApp groups and others that we escape to have actual human connection. And by having like everybody on these groups as verified humans, and then no bots involved, and you knowing that these guys are actually talking as themselves, creates like this level of authenticity and the real interaction. So I think the social has moved from this kind of feed based models into group chats, and I think that's also going to be a continuing trend going forward.
On that note, kind of what is the point of then having social media at all? Because this is what we were contemplating, like where should we market our event? Like we wanted to create like a space where people can gather, enjoy the art, and like on top of that, we even decided to do the streams and the talks before the event, so that when you actually come to our event, you're enjoying the art and the people who are there. You're interacting with real people, with something that is like real emotions and so on. So on this note, like what purpose does LinkedIn serve, or the social media platforms? Why does it make sense? Like why don't we just like delete everything now? Like why should we still keep it?
Yeah, it's a good question. It's hard to predict the future, and like if you look at the growth of generative AI content currently on all the social media platforms, my current estimate is that it's probably like somewhere between 20 and 30% of all the content like that you see like is going to be generative AI created, maybe more at this point. It's like I said, it's estimated to be at around 90 by the end of 2025, which is next year. So we are seeing this like massive growth of content going up. The reason why we currently see on our feeds, maybe 20-30% AI generated, is that there's still some relatively simple mechanisms of filtering out the AI generated content from the feeds in a way that you only see like a small fraction. I'm pretty confident that the amount of AI content is already way bigger than this. So because it's so easy to generate, like you can generate like unlimited amount of content. But right now the platforms are trying to struggle to figure out like how do you keep the authentic content on the top, like, and how do you demote like all this like AI content. But as the AI content gets better, it becomes harder and harder to filter it out, and and eventually we kind of like draw our conclusions, and that's what I'm thinking is going to happen. We draw our conclusions and we just fade out. I mean, I don't spend my time on LinkedIn feed. I don't look at it. I post sometimes and I comment on my own posts, like when people comment on that. But and sometimes when some of my friends like post something and they share in my group chat or something that they posted about an important topic, I engage in that. But it's not like I go there through the feed. I go there because somebody like shared it in a group chat, and and that's something that is, I think, the direction that this is going to. I think hard to tell like how audience building is going to evolve with this proliferation of AI. Community building is pretty straightforward. You create a community and then you have like all kinds of subchats and other things to that community, and then you basically engage in conversation directly with people. But how do you broadcast like in an authentic way in this world? It's getting hard. Competition is really tough.
So when you talk about like genuine content creation, like on social, right? And that's going to be like, this is something we're contemplating about, like through my book and my poetry collection as well, is why should I create something when the computer can do the same? Like, why should I write poetry when the computer can generate something that may even evoke stronger emotions, especially if not told, if the audience is not told it's created. So what are your thoughts? Like, what is authentic content creation in the world of tomorrow?
I'm going to use an analogy here. Like you see this like electric piano behind me, like it's a Yamaha, like it is a keyboard, and and the sound that comes out of it is completely comparable to like regular piano, and your ear cannot make the difference because the waves are like this like pretty coherent sine waves that are pretty easy to replicate, like with speakers. I mean, I had a conversation about this with my dad, who basically has been designing electric music devices back in the day, already in the 70s, and he's basically have been professor educating signal processing. So I asked him, like, what is the difference between the traditional piano and this electric piano? And he said that in every single like traditional analog piano, like the strings are like having a little bit of like wear and tear, and and all these like things, and the environment is a little bit different in each of them. So they all have their little unique flaws. I'm underlining this. Like, so they are not perfect. And even if you like set like with this guy comes in and and tunes it to the perfection, it's still not perfect because the strings and everything create this kind of unique sound. So these little flaws are the ones that make a analog piano sound unique. While as like the digital pianos are like always perfectly the same. like you have a piano next to the piano and it's exactly the same sound. So now I think this is where we're heading. Like we actually start appreciating the little flaws, and these like human flaws that we have, and then we actually think that that's the real art, is the flaws that we have, because AI can represent perfection to us, like the humans will present the imperfection, and the imperfections are the more desirable things. So I think that's, to some extent, I think that's a hopeful view of us appreciating something human in ourselves.
Is that you? So hearing this, will you now start creating? Should we start creating content that is flawed by design?
I think that has already been done, like by a bunch of the influencers, like creating like purposeful mistakes in the writing, and even in ads now, like people actually introducing like spelling mistakes on ads because they seem to have a better conversions, in some cases. So yes, I mean the problem is that it's also possible to simulate human errors with AI, and people are like following everything that they can to scale things, and but I do think that in art specifically, we can see kind of like a personal types of flaws. Like you can see that this person is flawed in this way, and and that kind of manifests in the art. And I think that makes it seem like unique to that person, and I think that's kind of beautiful in itself.
What kind of emotions or thoughts does this evoke in you, Yuso?
Yeah, I was just thinking, these kind of imperfections. For example, Van Gogh, he got famous for the brushstrokes that he was doing that was unconventional and kind of like not perfect in a way that in his time it was supposed to be that it didn't look like brushstrokes, that it kind of looked like a picture really. And so his kind of fame was also from these kind of uniqueness and like the unconventionality and the imperfections of that time, of that society. And that's also kind of still maybe inherent in us, in the things that we value, through the art that we see, that it's the smudge on the corner, or like the imperfect like space of uncovered canvas. That's like the thing that we really see to value, and maybe we might come back to like more traditional forms now that's digital, and that's digital art is already so hard to actually find the imperfections, but it might kind of come back to now like a more traditional means of really seeing value. And I think it kind of paints a really big contrast of like perfection and imperfection.
But then doesn't like uniqueness have its own value? And then technology, blockchain has actually made it possible to attribute uniqueness in some way. Like you dwelled into this, Mikko, right? As well.
Yeah. So I mean, I understand that like NFT contracts create a contract which is unique, but at the same time, like the image that this contract represents can be still copied. Like so the ownership can be proven to be unique, but that doesn't mean that you can actually uniquely own something that cannot be copied. So the copying is still existing. So I think the interesting thing, I mean, we would have to think this a little bit out of the box. For example, if you create like algorithmic evolution of NFT art, like where the algorithm is unique for the art piece, that will make the art piece evolve in a way that even if you do a snapshot copies of it, like in a specific time points, it will never be copied, like because the algorithm cannot be copied under it. Like so, that would basically make the artwork evolve in a unique way. Maybe you can even like connect it with other artworks, and this connection will create like some kind of fusion of this like art pieces into something completely new. And I think those kind of like paths of thinking, like where you're trying to manifest this uniqueness in a way that creates some like personal experience rather than something that is very easy and readily copyable. I mean, there may be other ideas on how to manifest that, but I think that's a really good way of looking at it, and I think it's also very well in tune with this like AI age of AI that we currently are in. Like I think
that's an interesting idea. I guess I have this notion. I think it's from Viggo Mortensen, and something I picked up myself, which resonates with it's like art is what artists create. So unless the consumer of the art first perceives the creator as an artist, then whatever the creator creates will not be art. So like you kind of need to be seen as an artist, right? So if you're not seen as an artist, you will not create art. So can then like a AI be seen as an artist? Like, can you actually make an AI be an artist? And like, is this like a branding thing?
I had this conversation with my son back in the day when he was kind of like aspiring to become like a music producer, and I said that nobody cares about music producer at the end of the day. Like they only care about the performer. So and he said that, why is that? Like I said, okay, tell me who produced the song of this and this like artist there and there, and it's like, okay, I don't know. I said, okay, exactly. Like nobody knows like who actually produced it. There are some producers that actually became artists themselves, like famous DJs and stuff like this, like Metro Boom. You know, like there's plenty of people like this who are at the same time producers and artists themselves. But it's the artistry that they do on the performing place that makes them famous. So I think we will have this performance side of things where we want to see like a unique human like being performing something, and then you have the generation of the art item that we may not care how it's being done, like whether it's being done in human means or an AI means. That's currently what I think is the state of the art and AI.
So AI is either a tool or the producer, but it can never be the performer itself, to summarize the analogy here.
Yeah, who knows? Like I cannot tell what the younger generations like, whether they will start revering some AI as a like a top artist. I don't know about it. Like I mean, so I cannot make a prediction that it will never happen. It could happen, but I do think that we get drawn to going into this concert by some famous artists because we want to see the human in the stage. And how did they create the music? I don't think we care that much about that part. Like maybe only care about the performer, and the fact that we can see the performer live like makes us also listen to their music like digitally. So to some extent, like the same will probably be true for visual arts. Like you have these like shows and performances and other things, and then you can appreciate their art also outside that experience, but the experience makes it deeply human, like to some extent. So I think artists cannot be like hiding in some kind of like a studio and then just shipping some pieces out of it. I don't think that's going to be like cutting it for the artist anymore. So they have to be visible themselves. Like they have to come on stage and speak, and then, and be present with it.
What sort of reflections does this spark in you, Yuso?
Yeah, I guess it's really about like the things that somehow AI can't do, which is be physically present and attend these thoughts, and then kind of make that emotional connection through physicality is really the value that is now kind of being brought forward. And then also when it comes to kind of AI as tools in art, it kind of takes me back to our last stream with Rope, and he was saying, when Photoshop came up, it was kind of like there was a dialogue discussion of like the people that make art with Photoshop, are they even artists? Can they even be kind of considered artists? And I feel like maybe that kind of dialogue might also trickle into the AI as well. It's kind of like the people that use AI to create art, it's still now being kind of considered like, is it even art? And then I think that might shift also onto the people that are creating it as well.
Well, I mean, there are artists like Android Jones in the Silicon Valley circles, who was well known, like among the art fans there. I mean, he always created these digital art pieces, but like he was also present on these events, and went to Burning Man and other places to basically be the guy like visible in. And I think the personality that he had like kept him like being. I mean, he could have generated those AI like pieces with AI easily, and I don't think people would have really cared like in this regard, because they cared about his style and and as a person. So
yeah, and his story, like the background, this comes like art is what artists create. So if you're an artist, then anything you do will be perceived as art, right? Ultimately, or at least that makes sense in a world where you create an abundant amount of it. Then it's more about the creator, right?
And one way of looking at art also is that traditionally, like the painters and the artists have been focusing on this, is of course through the centuries, they focused on creating unique pieces that then were bought and appreciated in value, like in these individual pieces. But what if we kind of like turn it around and we say that, okay, I mean, digitally you can copy everything and you can spread everything. What if you create like a a legal way for people to acquire like digital pieces of art like for very low cost, but sell them in very high volumes in a kind of like the same way as you would do with music. If we can create like new usage patterns for this, like let's say that we could enjoy some experiences of a tribal people in Africa or like in South America or like in Asia, and and they would be able to monetize like their own culture, by selling like this pieces of art like for let's say $5 each, as digital copies for people, and people can then print them on their t-shirts or do something like this, and then like just having a few hundred pieces sold per this could be like a significant impact on these people's like livelihoods, and it doesn't require them to destroy anything that they have, because this digital copies like will not destroy the original culture. It doesn't like create this kind of like fake versions of it for tourists or anything like this. It could be simply enjoyed by people outside their cultures as is, and I think things like this could be like very interesting ways of looking with new eyes. But I do think that lots of the artists are still like so focused on being the like guy who has the unique pieces with the most appreciation, like and the goal is that, and you kind of then focus on the about 100,000 collectors of art like worldwide that are creating this market for unique pieces. And but I mean, if we want to like have a societal impact for the whole world, Banksy, I mean, had a much more impact than lots of other artists simply by creating free pieces on the streets, and taking pushes. So, but he also monetized by the unique pieces then that he sold, like the so,
That's an interesting idea to kind of like what, like if you build on the idea that okay, we can create some sort of way for minorities and indigenous people to share kind of their, like monetize their culture and be able to share their culture with the rest of the world. Like, why couldn't they do it with social media in itself, like the way, or with the existing tool? Like, what is actually then missing from today's tools for them to not be able to do that? Of course, this would have to come with giving them technology in those places as well.
No, I mean, I think it would require somebody to create the mechanism of purchasing these pieces of art with a very simple way, like in volume, and then channeling that money back to them. I mean, crypto could be one way of doing it. Like, I mean, could be like an easy way of creating the monetary exchange with esoteric currencies and stuff like this. So, so yeah, I mean, I think there could be ways to do that. I actually explored this idea back in the day myself. Like, I mean, I was looking at why are we so focused in the art market to create these unique pieces that are oftentimes, by the way, put into this like a moth cover, and then put in the storage to appreciate in value and waiting for the death of the artist. Like, so, like so much of the art is basically done this way. And I'm just like, okay, so if I was an artist and somebody was buying my pieces like for maybe 25,000 each to put them into this bag, to wait for my death, like would I feel like a relevant person for the society doing that? Like, I mean, I could make income from it, but what is my like current actual impact in the society with this? I mean, I actually had a couple of discussions with artists on this, and they said that, yeah, I should be lucky. I should feel lucky that these people are collecting my pieces, but because they are not being put in museums or any other place, they're just waiting for my death. Like, is that still like a good thing, or is it like, what is it like? So
yeah, well, I guess there are many examples of artists, the work of the artists becoming valuable only after their death. As many artists that are still alive and their work is valuable. I don't think it's like the only way to
no, I understand, but
look at, right? So it's kind of like more about luck and public opinion and how that evokes emotion at any given time. Like like on the writing side, this reminds me of like Frank Kafka, who like really wrote dogmatic stuff his whole life and like a big amount of it, and he never got acknowledged about it. And then only after his death, somebody collected everything. And then suddenly he became one of the most celebrated authors in American history. And it's just like kind of sad, but then beautiful all in its own way. But then you can probably name as many artists who are celebrated when they are still alive throughout human history when it comes to art creation. What would you suggest, like, for people to really like to understand the world of tomorrow and algorithms? Like, what should the people in universities right now actually be worried about? What should they be studying, and what should they understand right now, Mikko?
I mean, I think like Jonathan Haidt pushed out this book called The Anxious Generation, which basically was an attempt to silence all these people who were saying that correlation doesn't equate causation when we are talking about the effects of smartphones and social media on our youth. And he said that, okay, now we can basically, because he collected like hundreds of different studies on the topic, and his book is basically making a case that there is a clear causation between these things. So now that we kind of acknowledge that there's a causation, so the algorithms currently have a negative effect on our youth. So now the question is, what do we do about it? Like, do we ask these makers of the algorithms to make them more healthy, so that they don't only pursue one goal, which is to keep people hooked, like with the devices? We had like this Gallup study from last fall in the United States. Like the average time that the teens are spending on social media was 4.8 hours a day, and now like with the recent Finnish study that was out, like for the like high school girls, it was like up to 6 hours a day. So we are basically saying that we are okay with letting our youth basically turn into TikTok zombies, like from my perspective, like that's what we have agreed to do, and we didn't do anything about it so far. So I mean, am I alluded to basically suggest that maybe we should walk away from this and and do something else, or like, because I'm an advocate of AI, like from my perspective, but I'm at the same time like, if we can't make this right, we should shut down those places that are basically causing lots of damage and rebuild from scratch with something that is more healthy.
Yeah, with this note as well, and we talked about marginalized minorities and indigenous people. Maybe they are right and we're just wrong. Like when you're saying that we should like disengage or everything. So like, I don't think, like, why would they then, like, we need help, they don't. They've been living that way for centuries, right? And also it's a very colonialistic way of thinking that you would, like, they need help to survive. And like flipping the script around, if we're like too much online, then maybe we should be less online. Are these, like, how does this resonate with you, Juuso? Like, is this something like is this something you're worried about? How much people are spending online? How much the
I mean,
algorithm
for myself as well, like compared to, I guess, more like looking at my brother, for example, like I think he's been so much more exposed to the digital space from a younger age because he needed that for education, like schools are kind of like setting kids up to actually be digitally literate from such a young age to be able to do so much that I probably wouldn't have been able to do. And that's kind of progress in one sense, but then that has exposed him to so much of being online and social media and whatever. But then my also thing is that, like, for a lot of people in our generation is like, we get our news and we get everything from social media. So is it actually possible for us now to completely remove ourselves from it? Because yes, while there are all these kind of catered feeds and content, there's still like some aspect of connecting and like being the social aspect of social media. But I do see that it's gotten so considerably low. Like on Instagram, like I rarely see my friends' stuff, and so I never go on it anymore. And so I'm even contemplating getting off that. And I don't know. I think it's just like we are still. I think we're so attached to social media now that it's kind of hard to really come out of it but we are looking for ways that are evoking the social aspect of social media. For example, like maybe Be Real may or may not be a good example, but it's really just like a moment, a second of your day that you share to your friends, and it's only your friends. And I think now they've had like an optional feature to follow like your favorite creator, which I'm kind of about, but I think it's still relatively about, like being with your friends and like staying close with your friends.
But this following your favorite creator is exactly the path to monetization on this platform, and and that eventually will turn it into a new TikTok. Like, I mean, that's always like how it will play out eventually. Like, so that's one of the biggest challenges of our time, is that in order for us to basically have a free place to exchange ideas, somebody has to monetize it with ads. And once they have that this like need to monetize with ads, they have to basically do targeted ads, and that will end into you having to spend time on specific type of content, and then that behavior being monitored and analyzed, and then you are basically being served ads that are relevant to that experience. And then the more ads you are being served, the more money they make out of you. So they have all the incentives on the world to keep you hooked as long as possible. And then you put like some product lines and profit lines like there in the company to basically optimize for this, and it will happen. And that will happen to Be Real as well. Like, I mean, the way money runs out, like, I mean, they will be in the TikTok bandwagon.
But why? But isn't then at least a way to fight it is for the platform to, be available at a service fee where you don't see the ads anymore, like Facebook did? Or like, is it still the same thing?
Yeah, the challenge is that currently, basically, the money that Meta is making out of the United States users is $17 a month per user. In Europe, it's probably closer to 12. And it depends on the area and the income levels and other things. But if you make $17 per user from your platform, and then you want to replace that with actual user fees, the $17 per month for using Facebook, like, I mean, there's not very many takers for that money. So people will say, okay, I'll do this with the ads, and I don't worry about it. And that's kind of like one of the challenges. And by the way, the consumers and creators like ratio on these platforms is always at least 99-1. Like, the consumers are 99% and then the creators are 1%. It could be even more extreme, like that 0.1% of the creators are really valuable for the platform. And with this kind of ratio, only the ones who are on the top 1% are actually have any interest in paying for this. And so now you have, like, Elon is trying to make X like a paid platform, but he will find out that only 1% of his users are actually willing to pay, and and that's going to be the situation going forward.
So was your idea then with Equel to create more like WhatsApp forums, and like, what's the path to monetization there? Just to like,
the only way to monetize it would be basically to create a professional network experience and then monetize it with the professional aspects of it. LinkedIn has actually 40% of the active users are paying users. So you can have much higher percentage of the users to be premium users in the platform like this. But yeah, so it's I don't see the consumer social being any other having any other path to monetization than ads, really.
But would there be a space then, talking about art and where? So would there be a professional network for artists that could work the same? Like, this is just a random reflection, right? So like, would there be a LinkedIn for artists that could work like this, where they would pay? And what then, like, we don't need to answer this, but then what then would be the content that they are seeking and sharing and connecting over?
To some extent, this is already happening in Telegram. Like, Telegram is creating these like crypto payment mechanisms for like different things, including NFTs. And I think they are like creating them quite rapidly as features, and by creating these like different monetization mechanisms via transactions, they are enabling a lot of this kind of stuff. So I'm actually quite convinced that some kind of projects will happen in the art space in Telegram, like that are trying to leverage this kind of crypto-based payment mechanisms.
Okay, that's interesting. I think I've come across Farcaster as another platform that works more or less the same. They're trying to copy like Twitter, but putting on chain.
I don't think any of these like decentralized social platforms will ever have like the kind of traction that Telegram has. Like, I mean, there's no way that they can tap into the public like in the same volume. It's like putting messages on blockchain makes no sense from my perspective. They are real time and they are ephemeral. Like putting them into permanent repository like in a very slow registry. I see no they don't match. So the crypto is good for some things, but not specifically not good for this kind of approach.
Yeah. Okay.
In my opinion.
Juuso, do we have any closing questions and remarks? We're a bit over time here.
Yeah, I think we've kind of covered it all really about algorithms, AI, community, social media, and then obviously AI within art. So I think we've had a really good session, and we can then
before Juuso, you can tell a bit about our event. Mikko, to follow you and your work, what would you like to tell the viewers of the live or the recording later on?
Yeah, so I mean, LinkedIn is a good way. That's like I guess my main social media. I haven't been that active anymore that I've been like back in the day, like with lots of stuff, but I still post regularly. And I think LinkedIn is the place currently that, as you said, Nicholas, even though like we have all the same like algorithmic triggers there, like when people are with their own identity, you have a little bit more real discussion going on than in places where people are using some anonymous handles in the conversation.
Fair enough. And you also AI within art.
Yes, so AI and within art, we're having an exhibition next week, Tuesday and Wednesday, 11th and 12th of June, and it is an exhibition to challenge your bias on AI within art. Really question the thoughts that you already have, the stereotypes, your premonitions, and kind of put yourself into a space where you can think, but also kind of a space where you can have discussions with people that are also there with the same interest and with the same questions that you might have. And yes, everyone is welcome to attend. And you can find our links to sign up in LinkedIn.
Yes, and comments section and description below. Thank you, Mikko, for your time. Have a lovely weekend, and hope to catch you again soon.
Yes, thank you very much.
Another live. Bye. And stream